All right. Another morning, another warm up. So a lot of, a lot of warm ups. I wonder really. Would be great to have a grand total. Hey Upski, how's it going? Let's do a rough look. Hmm. Hey Rollermaster. So let's see, we are on 146 today. We ended up with 229 on season 4, 146 season 3, 235 season 2, 159 season 1. There's quite a lot of them. And then we did a lot of 2 weeks challenge stuff. Quite a lot. I mean, in theory, it's around this time I end the season, right? But I don't know. I mean, obviously we have Unreal Bjorn 3 running till middle of summer or beginning of summer. Fight Milk, no. Atsuki won. Atsuki was the first to say hi. Hey, Rollermaster, Zealin, how's it going? Fight Milk, what up? Fight Milk. Atsuki is on it. At the gates. Yeah, so that's interesting. I mean, clearly, like, some of the seasons it goes up to 300 episodes. Some are 150. So, I mean, nothing says that I'm gonna stop the season now in mid Unreal Tournament. But I mean, season 5 is gonna end at some point. So we'll see. Kazagar, 30 seconds of ads. Oh, sadly, none of those ad revenue goes to me. All into Twitch pockets. So, topics. Give me some of your fantastic suggestions on what to draw, and I'll draw it. Let's roll that dice, or I'll just draw something. I'll come up with something, and we'll make it work. I've been thinking about a very fat orc chef. Oh, that's pretty cool. Jummit, Doom Eternal, yeah. That our team is a baller team. They're very cool. Very good artists there. So we got a very fat orc chef. We got Mantis Cavalry. Mantis? That's that manta ray, right? Or no, praying mantis, that bug, right? Bug Cavalry. It's pretty cool. Divine Magister, one more time. Alright, let's roll the dice. We got 3 suggestions. Let's split it. Dice in 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that's a D8? Okay, D6. All right, let's see. 6. So that's the last topic. Divine Magister. Oh shit. Atsuki. You got it. Boom. That's pretty cool. Fine belly. Fine belly, Atsuki. Fine belly. As you can see, by the way, on the banner down there, you got 3 days, odd 3 days left for round 2. So, time is a ticking. Right. Divine Magister. Okay. Okay. I have a picture in my mind. I thought like, oh, I'll do a character design. But I was like, nah, let's not. So I'm going to try the picture I had in my mind was like a teacher or a magister, right? Standing at the top of a school staircase, holding a wand, and stairs over here, and then like the school gates in the background. It's like first day of school, right? That's the picture in my mind. Hey Gria, how's it going? So what I'm going to try to do is the same technique as yesterday. But I think I'll vary it up a little bit. We'll see, really. But I started playing with that technique actually yesterday. The idea I was trying was you start out with basic shapes like this, and you start like the jester yesterday. You start mapping out the shapes and the basic lighting conditions, and then I started experimenting yesterday, and then you start adding textures and or more like volumes, and then you start adding textures, and then you start adding like advanced shapes and so on. And it kind of turned out like a pretty cool solution. So I think I will start experimenting with this process a little bit. It's quite fascinating. It feels like I'm picking up some new information from my skill set, and it feels like there is a truth in here for me to try to capture. So we'll see how that goes, I guess. But it feels like that there is I will learn something by going down this path, much like I learned something going down the path of lights only painting technique. I feel like going down this path will teach me something about something, right? That I can feel that it's going to be informative, that it's that there is a lesson for me to learn here. I'm not really sure what it is or what I'm supposed to pick up, but the fact that I am intrigued by this process, and the fact that I spent yesterday trying to kind of figure the technique out, means that my brain is activated, and that there's definitely something, regardless of the fact if I learn something new or not, that there is something for me to try to capture. And it's a weird process. It's not my native process, but I think that's also one of the things that it speaks to me, that it's alien, you know. I'll switch back so you can see the layers. You asked, for what do you use layers? For what reason? Currently, I guess is the question, why I'm using layers, is that I want all of these things are on separate layers, so that I can make masks for each mask. So the idea of why I'm making certain layers separate is because I'm thinking about the hierarchy of volumes, right? So this is the foreground, and then behind those layers are the things that, you know. So it's like a depth, what's it called? Depth queue in 3D. You know, like you render what's in the back and what's in the front. So now the layers are more or less arranged in a way, except he should be behind, right? It's like as if you would animate him. Anyways, so now what I want to do is I want to start adding, because now the depth is more or less arranged. I want to, what I kind of played with yesterday was that I just added simple gradients. You could see that on yesterday's warm-up as well. I started with adding simple volumes to kind of represent general light. Lovely. Exactly, Z depth. I think Z depth is it's ZBrush specific? No? Oh no, Z depth, no. Never mind. It is not ZBrush specific. It is XYZ. That's right. Never mind, never mind. So it's for me, it's like a fun, weird process. So just by putting gradients on the separated items and separating the item or items of the painting, and just gradients, you can start making an arrangement, and you can start, you know, moving, shifting, and because the layers are locked to the shape, you know, I could erase in the shape or add a shape, and it would still be listening to the basic gradient on top, right? So I can now go in and you know, like if I want to give him a hat or some straps hanging down, they will be listening to the basic gradient on top that that conforms the layer to its position, like in the composition, right? So first they're just basic blockouts, and then the shapes. And if I want to, I could go in and start altering the shapes, which is pretty fun. It's pretty. It's an interesting way to block out a painting that's not very kind of native to my own painting style. So one thing that I haven't figured out yet, based on yesterday's explorations, is how to make it feel fun or interesting. Lovely. Yeah, it's kind of like a render pass. Anyway, so what I started doing yesterday was, because everything on a separate layer now and arranged kind of generally, you can I made like an overlay layer and started like playing with like light composition. And for example, because there are on separate layers, I can you know, start customizing some of the ways that the light interacts with the shapes. So it makes it really you can get a result fast, but what also it seems to do is that it seems to make things a little bit cumbersome, right? I still haven't figured out a good way of making it feel like an organic process. A big part of what helped was me kind of playing around with the idea of using overlay yesterday at this point to help with kind of setting up one's ability to paint on it all. And quickly you can start getting like a fun base. And this is still just no textures, but just playing around with the volumes to try to make the read strong. And by that it's just arranging the shadows, arranging the light, kind of in a way that it's fun to look at, right? So I'm still, like I said, I'm still experimenting with this painting technique. Much like the lights only painting technique, it took a while to grow. But currently my kind of beef with this is that there isn't enough textures. I started playing around with textures yesterday as well, which is the next step of the pass. So that's gonna come. But that pass made it very messy. So I haven't come up with a clean solution to how to add texture to this pass. So it's almost now, currently, it's like you're almost painting ambient occlusion, like a render pass of sorts, especially on this character. So that's the basic, and then the light, and we can start seeing, start seeing how it comes together. You know, which is, I think it speaks to the potential of the technique. So with the texture stuff, I did another overlay and just started using texture brushes on top. One thing that I know, which is important, is that you use overlay. I figured out because overlay, if you have mid-range gray and you use overlay, the texture is kind of respecting the underlying, all the underlying information. By that is you won't go full, you won't remove brush strokes that's underneath, you will add to the brush strokes. So in that sense you can kind of maintain texture. Hey Axolotl, how's it going? Hey Fuchsia, how are you? So in that sense, it makes me intrigued in playing with, for example, this technique a little bit further, because it makes things it makes it the weird mix between control and not control. Hey Captain Pulse, how's it going? And it makes me excited to test to see kind of where can this technique take me in terms of speed or quality, you know. Confined but fine. Yeah, I'm all good. So did anyone, by the way, did any one of you consider your painting process yesterday? Captain Boss, a French friend expatriated in Riga told me that you were not confined. They're telling everyone to stay home. But it's on your own. There's not like police patrolling. Police patrols infected people that's in quarantine at home, as far as I know. You know, so that if you go outside, if you're in self-quarantine demanded by the hospitals, you'll get fined. for everyone else, they are telling everyone to stay home, but it's not like enforced. So they are hoping people are intelligent enough to respect people's lives and don't go out and infect each other. Gria, you did? That's cool. And so did you, Zeolin, but it fell apart? What I meant about it was not okay, so what I meant about thinking about your process wasn't to break your process while painting, right? So see it as an exercise done outside of painting. And it's not so much about as in forcing you to be considerate or to consider every step you're taking while painting, but it's more of like, okay, how do I actually paint? Like in this instance. Hey Amir, how's it going? Good morning. So in this instance, right, I'm coming up with a new way of painting that's not normal to my normal process, right? So what I'm doing now is completely different from my kind of default approach, default steps I take to make a painting. And I'm literally, based on the talk I talked to you guys about, thinking about process, I thought about process as well. And without painting in that steps, I was sitting and thinking, you know, like what could be an interesting solution to play around with how to define a painting. Because my default painting style is significantly more messy, significantly more brush marky, if that's the technical term. But yeah, but I have before I've already thought about what steps do I enjoy taking and what steps do I need to take to ensure, for example, I don't fall in my like pitfalls, right? That being, I know I'm a messy painter, so in order for me to make a good painting, a step in my process needs to be control, right? So I know that I can do a sketch, then I actually need to spend some time controlling the sketch, be it cutting things out of the sketch into a separate layer, so that the sketch itself, that one of the focal points of the sketch is on a separate layer, so that I can be messy but maintain the shape, because I know the chaos I inflict on my paintings, I need some sort of structure. So this is an absolute opposite of my natural way of constructing an image, because literally making control first and then putting chaos on top of the control. So I'm inverting my process on purpose, making it hard for me. But I know my style, you know, like my painting process is chaos, marks, and then wrangle the madness, so that I can keep doing madness on top of it, but maintaining somewhat control. And I know that I do grayscale up to a point where I need to start defining further, and after, when I feel like, okay, grayscale is enough, if I want to take this sketch further, I need to start going into color. And I know the steps I take to put color on top of the grayscale, almost like a recipe. You can wake me up and I will be able to tell you exactly how I do it, right? And then I know which brushes I use, which steps, and it's more of like understanding what you need to do to get a good result. And I can't tell anyone how you do those steps, right? But I can tell you where you might make a mistake if you know which steps you're taking, right? Like if you draw a character, do you draw pose first, or do you draw anatomy, like underlying drawing, or do you just start with the head? Every artist draws differently, but if you don't like understand how you start sketching or how you start something, you're going to have a hard time understanding what you can improve on or what you can fix. And that's the only like the purpose of yesterday's challenge towards those who wanted to do it, of thinking about process, is just spend time outside of painting thinking about how you do things and why you do things and which steps actually do you need to take to get a good result. And it's not so much about thinking about your steps while painting, because if you do that, you're taking yourself out of comfort zone, and you're gonna struggle. Zealand, yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, it's a hard one. Like you say, you have to record yourself. But recording yourself could be that you're also recording a bad habit versus the correct habit, right? Amir, oh well, thank you. I'm using a different technique today. I'm experimenting with technique, and we'll see how the end result will be. It's a test to see, because yesterday's stream I gave a challenge about thinking about process, and I spent some time thinking about process yesterday as well, and I started experimenting with steps and how to alter my own painting process to see what can come out of it, right? And I'm going opposite of my natural process currently. So it's a little bit of a test to see what I can do by not allowing me to go my natural steps and making it extra difficult for me to produce. But I feel now that like the initial steps I have figured out of how to play with my process, but currently now I'm falling into my bad habits of how I did it before. So it's starting to be a little bit like every other painting. But nevertheless, I think this will take me down a new path, much like a light-only path, that I will figure some new step out and a new favorite procedure, and I'll dive into it, because I can feel that this way of sketching kind of has something that's appealing to me currently, but I still don't know what it is. I still don't know the perfect combination of steps. I'm still exploring, but it is appealing to me, so that's a good thing, I guess. Gria, yeah, your new effort is really good. Amir, yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I want to point out that what you could do also is, because you already have the selections, you can go top down and cut them out one more time on top and just collapse all the other shit, and then you just have the textured clean shapes, and you can keep like painting on top, but you still maintain, because now the layer system is a little bit messed up. But you could go like this, right? Copy, paste, and you can switch that off, and then you go copy, paste, then you switch that off, and you switch that off. And you can walk down the line like that, right? Until you have the whole layer system, original layer system, arranged back up. Which is, you know, a pretty interesting pretty interesting. I'm just gonna throw in some colors and then call it a day. Oh yeah, I really like that warmness. So I'm gonna try. Let's make a warm palette. See. Let's throw in some blue. That's way too saturated. And then let's throw a color balance on top and just force it all into kind of sepia. I'm not happy with it, so I need to do a little bit of let's see where that goes. It's a nice color, but it makes it not ideal. Makes it more feel like it's sick. But the relationship between colors are better, so maybe I can just shift this slightly. I don't know. Kind of nice. But I think the warmth would work better up top. Yeah. I can't fiddle more. Something I want to work on is that you can't find the right color saturation etc., directly on the wheel. Yeah, that is there's a problem that a lot of people have, that they need to see, see the results. So it's a bit tricky. This, like, this and I haven't figured out fully yet, in this new painting process, like how to make it fun and interesting and streamlined, but nevertheless a good sketch and good experimentation. And by the way, Gria, a comment to your latest sketch, and you said the Red Riding Hood wasn't dynamic enough. You have to consider also that something in movement will only feel like it's in movement with something static next to it, right? If both things are moving, you won't get the sense of motion. For example, if something is moving, you will only get the sense of motion if the background is still, right? So if everything is moving together, there's no motion. So you have to consider that when you said you wanted to adjust the pose. If you want her to feel more alive or the wolf to feel more alive, you can do changes. Just be aware of those changes, so that you don't like shoot yourself in the foot. I'm not telling you what to change, but just be aware of like that there is contrast in other ways than like there's narrative contrasts, right? Hey Theo, how's it going? Zielin, about intent, you can practice that intent. Like I'm saying, I know my native painting process is messy, but I need to insert cleanliness into my sketching ability. But for the longest time, what you're describing is how I painted, of happy accidents and identifying what comes out by reacting to what's being painted. And it's absolutely fine to do, and it's absolutely doable. It's just about you understanding when you do find something in the mess, how to extract it from the mess. And it's absolutely valid sketching technique or painting technique. It's down to just how you understand what you're doing and how you are able to control it. That's the task of yesterday. Is think about what you're doing, how you're creating, and which steps you take to get something done. And the way you're describing isn't something necessarily you need to fight against. You just need to be aware of it and understand it. And the more you understand about how you are happy creating, the more adjustments you can make, and the more clear your path will be for you to take, right? Gria, well, in order for something to feel warm, you need to have something cold next to it. If something you want to feel bright, you have to make it surround non-bright things, shiny versus matte, contrast. That's just my point, and it's for everyone else as well. Color, contrast, motion. Captain Boss, yeah, that would be awesome. Alright, let's find someone to raid. Let's actually raid John Silva. We haven't raided him in forever. Right, we're gonna raid John Silva. He's a great painter, but he's also a variety streamer now. But yeah, he's a cool guy. Make sure to give him some love. Have a great day. Good night if you're that part of the world. See you tomorrow morning. I'll continue experimenting with this painting technique, I think. Anyways, have a good one. Outro, then take you to the raid, so don't go anywhere. Bye.